Hey everyone, it's Emily. I'm back with Justin, and we're excited because today we get to talk a little bit about Rolex Stella Dials and comparing them to the Oyster Perpetuals.
Also, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date on our latest video content.
Now, before we do this conversation, we've got to do a wrist check. So, Justin, what are you wearing today?
I'll start it off. I'm excited about this one. Yeah, not mine, but I do have the pleasure of wearing it. I'm wearing the white gold GMT Pepsi bezel with the meteorite dial.
Wow.
I know you love this dial.
I do. That is one of my favorite watches, especially from the sport line. Whoa, baby.
Yeah, it's very flashy. I'm not usually into, so much of the flash, but this one, God, I just can't deny it. It's just so beautiful, and that dial and the meteor. Yeah, it's great.
Wow,
what do you wear?
Showstopper. Well, not to compete with that at all, but I've got on a colorful Stella dial.
Very on brand. I love it. Yes.
It kind of fits with the conversation today. So, like we said, we're going to be comparing the vintage Stella dials to the colorful Oyster Perpetuals that we all know and love or hate today.
Yeah, these have been pretty hot, right?
I
mean, these have been very, very in the spotlight.
Yes, and it doesn't hurt that at Watches and Wonders, a fair amount of them were discontinued.
Yes.
Especially kind of the fan favorite 41. You now only can get this in the green color. So that means that beautiful Tiffany blue turquoise is gone.
Yeah.
Yellow is gone, which was actually my favorite color.
Yellow was really, really popular color.
And then this coral red, which we have in a different size here, it is now completely discontinued in the yellow.
That caused a lot of waves.
Yeah, it did.
That was pretty big. I mean, especially since they've been out for roughly 2 years.
Barely even 2.
I don't even think they've officially been out 2 years. Anyway, they, it was kind of a big move for Rolex to discontinue them.
Were you surprised?
I was surprised.
I was too.
I could see them kind of changing the sizes on some of them maybe, but to get rid of, like, the yellow and red are gone completely, that's pretty surprising. That's big. Like we said, Rolex doesn't really move quickly on anything.
You're right.
And, to have these out for roughly a couple years and then they've gotten rid of them, and it caused some waves too, right? People are kind of disappointed.
Unhappy,
For one, it's driving the prices way, way up. I mean, they're trading at,
if you can
2,
even
3,
find them.
4 plus times retail. And, now it's going to just get worse. So it was a really interesting move by Rolex.
Yeah, and it was interesting too, especially in comparing kind of the Stella dials, which I'm not sure if many people know, these were very under the radar. Nobody really ever was seeking these Stella dials. Now, these were colorful dials put on the day-dates.
Yeah, so they have these really colorful dials. I mean, you can spot them from across the room, right? Oh, yeah. They came out in the 70s and were made mostly in the 70s and 80s up until the early 90s. And then there was the big gap, and the colorful OPs are very recent, like we said, came out in 2020. So there are some similarities and some differences between them.
Definitely. I would say most notably, the day-dates, especially with the presidential bracelets, these are not exactly entry-level, whereas the Oyster Perpetuals are clearly entry-level.
Exactly. Oyster Perpetuals, Rolex's more entry-level line. I mean, by secondary market prices, they are nowhere near entry-level anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, not anymore, not anymore.
But from Rolex's catalog, they're their entry-level watch. And personally, I love that. I think they're great. I think they're a fantastic entry-level watch. But the colors, when you see these, they look like really similar watches, right? Yeah. But that's kind of where the similarities end. I think they're more different than they are the same.
I agree.
Mean, the original Stellas were day-dates, so they're precious metals, gold, white gold.
Yep.
They also
platinum too.
Platinum, yes, yeah. The new ones are stainless, right? The new OPs.
Smooth bezel.
OPs have smooth bezels. The older Stella dials have fluted bezels. The older Stella dials also have, the date and day complications, where the Oyster Perpetuals are time-only watches.
Time only. Which I like the simplicity of them. I think that there's nothing to knock against. It's really just the comparable aspects between the two.
Exactly, yeah. The dial variants are really different as well, right? The newer ones, like you said, they're very simple, right? And they come in
8 different colors,
8 different colors. Not all colors are available in all sizes, right? I think the 36 millimeter is the only size that has the option of all the colors. But they do have colors in, the larger and the smaller sizes. But it's pretty much those dial colors, that configuration, that color, and that's it. With the Stella dials, there was lots of different options, right? I mean, we have full diamond dials. We have dials with some diamond markers. There's different hands. There's just lots of different options.
Kind of in these ones, diamond markers, sticks.
Yeah, and
even on mine are just sticks. Yeah, it's tough. It feels a little bit like we're comparing apples and oranges. I think as a whole, it's really great to see that Rolex kind of dabbled in this sort of playful vibe with these colorful dials.
Right.
I mean, they really kind of went hard when it comes to the color options as well. I mean, 10 different color options within the Stellas, and then 8 obviously with the Oyster Perpetuals, but some are pretty bold. I mean, obviously you have the black and silver, which are hard to note that they're actually new, unless you know what you're looking for.
Get very looked over because of all the bright colored
Yes, but then you've got
options.
your candy pink and you've got your turquoise blue. Those are not small, changes when it comes to dial colors.
Not at all.
Those are in your face.
And that's one of the pros that I think we haven't mentioned, where I think they did a great job on the colors on the newer ones.
Yep.
I mean, Rolex is clearly giving a nod to the old Stella line, and especially with its popularity recently, I think it's a smart move on their part.
Yeah.
But they didn't just reissue the same colors. I mean, they have that Rolex green, which I personally love. It's Rolex's trademark look, and so
which is very different from the green that they had available with the Stella Dials.
It is, and they didn't just reissue all those same colors. They've kind of updated them for modern times. Like that pink, I think is a great looking pink, right?
I know, I do love it, but I will be honest, there's something that I do love about that heritage nod, something that kind of brings back a little bit. It would have been nice to maybe see one reissue. I'm a big fan of the Oxblood.
I like the Oxblood a lot.
That is such a beautiful dial. It would have been a little bit fun to see that maybe on one of the OPs, just as a, yes, we were inspired by our sister Stella Dials,
Right.
but as a whole, I'm not going to knock them too hard for
No, not at all.
deviating.
I think they did a great job. Honestly, my biggest disappointment is that they've discontinued so many after only a couple years. Personally, I would love to see this line, at least for a while, kind of just be a bunch of different colors. So, maybe they discontinue these, but then they add a bunch of new ones next, and they kind of maybe give a few more nods back. Maybe they do the Oxblood next time, and some other new colors, and then they discontinue some of the other ones, and they kind of just keep that color line going for a little while. That would be really interesting to me.
That's kind of fun. What colors would you like to see? I know, putting you on the spot, sorry.
I would love to see that like electric kind of blue color that was on the white gold Stella.
Yeah.
Personally, that's my favorite one out of all the collections.
That one is beautiful.
It's that white gold with the blue. The color of that blue is just so unique, and it's nice. It's not real dark, and it's not like something you would see on the Submariner, but it's also not like this Tiffany blue we have here. It's that kind of just very energetic blue.
Yeah, it's kind of in between that jewel deep tone and sort of these poppy colors that you see on the Oyster Perpetuals, right in that middle. Yeah, that's a great
And you see a lot of blues in like the sunburst finish with the enamel. I think it gives it another look, and I really like it. Personally, I really like the enamel and the lacquer. I think it's got a nice clean look to it. The color really pops, and I think it's a great choice.
I agree, and that's actually kind of the beauty of the Stella Dials too. It's tough to find these, and especially in good condition.
Yeah.
I mean, the Stella Dials have been rumored to be nicknamed the Stella Dials for many different reasons, but from our research, we were able to find that really it was the company that provided the material to make those lacquered dials. They were called Stella.
Right.
And therefore kind of lend to the name that we all now know
Yeah, I
as
think
Stella
Rolex
Dials.
called them Lacquered Stella Dials, and then Rolex and
Kind
just
of
the watch
fell
community of the nicknames and everything. They're just known as the Stella Dials.
Yeah, I think they're beautiful, but with it, they've just been known to crack. So at a point, it's tough to find them in great condition.
Yeah.
So these are wonderful that we even have these options to kind of showcase.
They're kind of tough to come by. They've been really popular, like we said, as of lately. They've been really desirable with collectors. And like you said, a lot of them ended up cracking and not really holding up. And a lot of them were made in the 70s and 80s, so they didn't produce quite the same numbers back then, and not all of them survived. So it's not a real common watch. I mean, if you see one out in the wild, like it's a pretty rare sight.
Yeah, it's that fun, playful sort of touch to the watches that we know and love from Rolex. And I'm gonna just say, I really love the Oyster Perpetuals. I think it's a fun option for somebody that maybe just isn't the biggest watch fan.
Yeah.
It's a way to kind of get them in the door, right?
Yes.
And then fall in love with all of the other options that exist.
Yes, the Oyster Perpetual is a very good kind of gateway drug into the watch, the watch community. Another thing that's really nice about these that we didn't mention is they're very unisex.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I really like because the sizes they have, the current ones have a pretty good range of sizes. The 36 kind of can pretty much fit everyone. The 41, even women wearing bigger watches nowadays. So I love a watch that can, I can wear, my wife will wear it, and it's a nice, it's a nice little feature.
Buy one and wear for two, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's funny when new Oyster Perpetuals came out, I was the biggest fan of the 41. I loved that bigger size, especially now that some of our favorite colors have become discontinued. I don't know, I'm not mad about the size 36. It actually fits pretty well, and it still kind of feels nice and bold on my wrist. So I guess with this discontinued news, I'm sort of leaning now into the 36 a little bit more maybe than I was at the beginning. So
I agree. I think the 41 is my choice. I like a little bit bigger size watches, and I gravitated towards the 41. However, with that gone, like you said, now we're kind of looking at the 36, and I don't think it's bad.
So bad.
I mean, it's a little on the smaller side if I had my choice, but it's not a deal killer by any means. I'd still wear it all day long.
Yeah, we're definitely curious about you guys. What are you a fan of Oyster Perpetuals? Are you a fan of the Stella Dials? Is there a specific size range that you've enjoyed most? Obviously, we have to ask, is there a specific color that you guys have enjoyed most? Definitely let us know in the comments. We're always curious what you guys think. It's not just about us.
Absolutely. And these watches have kind of been a little bit of a hot topic for debate lately, right?
Sure.
I mean, I've seen a lot of love for them. I've seen some people that really aren't that into them. They think that they're a little too hyped, a little too expensive, a little too whatever. So yeah, I'm really curious. What do you guys think? Let us know. What do you think about the new ones? What do you think about the Stella Dials? Which one's better? Yeah, just leave your comments down below and get in on the conversation.
Well, it's that time of our conversation that we've always got to get to.
Yes.
We got to pick. When it comes to the colorful Oyster Perpetuals in comparison to these vintage Stella Dials, you can only choose one, even if the color's not on the table. Which one are you choosing?
Okay, I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, but I will choose that Stella Dial, the white gold with the blue dial.
Beautiful.
I love that watch. I think it's so gorgeous.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good choices on here. If you said I could take home 2 or 3, it would, I'd be sitting here for a little while trying to make the cut. But just one, it's that white gold with the blue dial.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I'm surprised. I would lean more towards me being a more modern fan. But these vintage Stella Dials are just undeniable. I think the biggest key for them is just them being in the precious metals.
Yes.
I'm a bigger fan of white gold, yellow gold, and even the platinum options. I also just like the richness of the dials a little bit more. They're not as poppy as maybe the newer ones, and just straight out, I enjoy a fluted bezel. So it's pretty easy choice for me. I'm sticking with a Stella Dial, and I guess if I have to go color, oxblood. You already know where I'm at. Yeah, and red isn't really a big color in my wardrobe, but it just feels very luxe and timeless.
Okay.
Yep.
I love the oxblood. I think it's a great watch. It's a great color.
Yeah.
It has that very vintage, timely feel to it, right? I gotta say, I'm a little surprised. I was very expecting to hear yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, of the new OPs.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful watch, but if I really had to choose my favorite characteristics of Rolex watches, I get the President bracelet, I get the fluted bezel, I get sort of the vintage, I don't know, exclusivity of them as well, which is kind of why I lean in that.
Yeah, it's a great choice.
Time will tell with the Oyster Perpetuals. I just really don't feel Rolex gave them enough time to really live and kind of earn their own identity.
Right.
We're kind of left with, what, a year and a half of opinions and a little bit of market volatility, and now many are discontinued. So time will tell on sort of the legacy of those ones, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a great choice.
I
bunch
know.
Of great watches.
This was a fun conversation. As always, we definitely are curious. No budget, what are you guys choosing? Leave us what your pick is in the comments. We'll definitely be taking a peek at those and responding to you guys. So, Justin, great to see you as always.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing the facts. We'll be back with another Watch Talk soon, guys. Until then, be well.